the man said that every match I watch, they don't win. I decided not to go and watch a weekend. Still,
But that cut distance is not an easy journey, by the way.
But then they didn't lose.
They did not lose, but they did not win. But yeah, Wanderers, eh?
That's why you're asking about a tie in cricket. You can imagine we had a tie.
But you should tell the people that the reason why the team had a tie is because you did nonsense. A straight drive and get a single.
I just got overly anxious. Pressure was
also,
on.
There are some names.
Pressure was on.
Wanderers, oba Warriors, oba Heathens. Balaba negeri gye beeyisamu nga tebalina ddiini lyali. Kati ba Wanderers.
Oyogedde ku police.
Arrogance.
Ayogedde ku police.
Anyway, when does the new rugby season start?
We're starting with the sevens first. I think.
The other one where Impis will be.
So that one will begin with the Uganda Cup around October, November.
Where you get promoted and relegated, that's one I want.
The whatever the 15th league. No, I don't want to troll. We shall invite them at some sevens events, this one. And they will whoop them.
Welcome to another interesting and exciting new episode of the Weekly Wowos. My name is Dennis Musali, your usual weekly host, and today we have a bumper show. A lot of stuff is going to be coming up from the whole crew and the team, so you'll be seeing a lot of changes. But this is all because we want to give you all the best from what you've been reading on the Kawowo Sports website throughout the whole week. We're going to review everything that happened last week and also look ahead as we go, as we talk to all your favorite writers from Kawowo. But I'm going to start off with someone who has been in my inbox, and I'm not very happy because if I'd just gotten that one run, I would be the one smiling very, very much. Our editor Franklin Kawowo and Joseph Man, who's starting the show off with me. Franklin is a very happy man because I played on, but it's okay.
Actually,
I'll let you start.
I'm happy and sad. Happy that the man who has been accusing others of letting down the team, technically let down the team, but we move. When a team just wants one run and
regardless, we shall move.
The Mugaga, the skipper,
the coach,
coach. He decided to take the matters into his own hands, but unfortunately,
I decided to go for glory instead of thinking about the team. But it's okay. My anger will be taken out on Kachi Tigers this weekend.
Yeah, and
Franklin, to start off, what is your starter this week?
Before I do even this, the problem is that one mistake you made could be the difference between the team staying up and going down.
At least,
especially that now round as one.
To think about it, I'm always a half full, not half empty person. So the 1 point may be the difference between us staying up and going down. So we'll take the point. We
cannot give you credit for that 1 point. Anyway, my starter for the week actually happened yesterday at Rugogo. I think this season I watched my best basketball game when City Oilers and Summit played last night. It was as interesting and as entertaining and as fun a game it was, with Summit obviously getting that win in overtime, and there was a guy who was so good on the day that he played so well inside out before fouling out, and obviously we shall get into the details of the game, but it was a very, very interesting game between Summit and the Dictator.
Yeah, so the Dictator and Wanderers, same WhatsApp group. Their form is like win one, lose one. But we'll get into that detail later. Just a few starter for the week.
Unlike Franklin, for me, my starter is for something that actually didn't happen. The Central Sevens were supposed to begin last Saturday in Entebbe with the second leg supposed to happen in Gayaza. That is the second leg. But the first leg didn't happen. And my starter obviously is a sad note, because then the chairman of the Central Uganda Rugby Association, Mr. Senteza Charles, resigned after midnight, having announced just the previous day at around 11 p.m. or thereabout that the sevens were not going to happen. This is a tournament that obviously teams have been preparing for, and it was going to be an interesting one, because you have the Warriors in there, you have Impes in there, you have Victoria Sharks, you have Chambogo. So it was actually going to be a very competitive tournament, but to see it not happen, even when they had the team managers round table at around 2 p.m. on that the day before, and then they cancel the tournament, and then Senteza resigns, a man whom I hold in high regard. He had done a very good job, with the resources that he has that are available to him. He had done a very good job. So that is my starter of the week.
Was he pushed, or he was forced to jump?
It was a matter of, I think, frustration. When you're in that job, there are very many challenges that you face. And of course, when you face those challenges, a man in his position acts as a buffer between the teams and the union. Obviously, for us, when we are asking for accountability for resources and whatnot, like us, I mean us of the lower tiers. When you're asking for those resources...
Are you speaking like an NPC guy or
So when the lower teams, or the teams in the Central Uganda Rugby Union, when they're asking for funds, or when they're asking for facilitation and all that, Senteza, is the man they look to. And obviously, then... also, when the union is asking for accountability and results, they also look to the same man. Obviously, the union wants to milk where it hasn't fed grass, and Senteza was doing a very good job at containing all that pressure coming from down and coming from his bosses at URU HQ. But he was doing a very good job, and I think abadde akoyo okuswala n'akita.
Finances and Ugandan sport is something that is really tied almost together. But when you hear that rugby has gotten a sponsorship, I don't think there is what would say like a proper allocation of resources, especially for the lower tier. You see up-country associations getting more money than the actual association that is bringing in more teams, that is more organized. I mean, the Central Rugby is more organized than another there is in Uganda of those lower divisions, but they get the smallest resources from the union and the smallest support, which is something that I can't get my head around.
Yeah.
And you see, Dennis, your friend Adraf was complaining some time back when we were beginning when teams were beginning the 15th season. For example, a certain team was allocated 57,500 shillings to move from Kampala, go to Entebbe, play rugby and come back. And that was supposed to be a sort of, they said that is not a transport refund, but they are subsidizing. How do you subsidize 50k on, say, for example, transport of 800k?
Yeah, because even going to Entebbe, if you use a taxi, you need at least 10k, I think. So there's no way 57k is going to... But I think the state of, sports, I run a cricket club, and I know how hard it is to keep up with the demands and running. Sometimes you want to switch off your phone. But you can't. that will be like dodging responsibility. The headmaster is calling you, school fees one, it's in Agua. I say, let me just switch off my phone. It's really.
But I think that's what Senteza is doing. After sending you 30k for your transport facilitation from Kampala to go and play Mukono Hawks, sends you 30k and switches off their phone.
So will
wait for, after I wait for results.
So Joseph, what next?
No, but one of the things and I saw people complaining was we even had a story on Kawowo previewing the weekend action and stuff like that. But then I think at midnight, and I'm seeing it in the WhatsApp group, and guys are like, is this still on or it's been cancelled? I mean, if they are telling you that don't show up tomorrow, don't show up at midnight, you've made plans. I'm not going to church. You've earned your favorite jersey and things like that. And then they tell you, boss, man, tomorrow it's a wrap, please don't show up.
Yeah, man.
That's a bit of a disorganization for clubs as well.
Yeah, it's very disorganizing because now, for example, like transportation, you have to pay some sort of deposit in order for the guy to take you seriously. You have to book some food, some fruits. You've already booked the breakfast for the team. You've told guys show up at 6 a.m., have breakfast, then warm up and all those things. And now you're telling them that the tournament won't take place. But Franklin was raising something very interesting about the what next. The Central Uganda Rugby Union obviously has a committee, and Senteza was the chairman of that committee, but that committee also had other committee members. For example, there is a man like Kabalega Adam, who has now gone full-time into the Sevens program, managing the national Sevens under Desire Derek Ford Mugumisa. There are other leaders, but it seems like they are all going to, someone has to step into those shoes, but I don't think that is a job that is, revered, should I say.
Hey, it's tough times, but I think ways will be found. And when the new dates are communicated for that Central Sevens Championship, of course, Kawowo will be the first to let you know when that will be happening. But staying with the rugby, the Sevens boys were down in Mauritius. They finished 5th. I have my experts here to tell us what happened this weekend. The only surprising result there for me was we lost to Ghana. Okay. But I'm like, I was not sure. Maybe I was thinking this is part of the process. Everything is new. South Africa playing Mauritius in that final. But there was teams that we used to beat up on. Zimbabwe was different. They played Kenya, I think, in the 3rd and 4th playoff. So there were a lot of new things. Uganda finishing 5th in that one. But let's start with Joseph. What did you make of the weekend for the Sevens boys in Mauritius?
Why don't you start with Frank? He has an honest opinion. He wants to get off his chest.
Okay, let me
Frank, are you going to say what you want to say, or I say it for you?
I would say, look, it was, to say the least, I thought the start to that competition was extremely underwhelming. I think the boys, in a way, undermined or underestimated Ghana in that first game, because you could tell by the second meeting that they had in the 5th place semi-final playoff. And you see, when you give an opportunity like that, it also meant that now Uganda finishes as the two best placed third places, and now it means you're going to face a tougher opponent in the quarterfinals. And obviously we ended up with South Africa, which pretty much ended Uganda's way to defending the title. But we undermined Ghana, and that shouldn't happen at any one point, because but I don't know whether it was they should be doing, under no circumstances should Uganda Sevens be losing to Ghana. Doesn't matter, not at this point, at least. Doesn't matter the Sevens player that you put out, we cannot be losing to Ghana.
And the score wasn't a close one, so if you say undermining would be 14-17.
It is sevens. You make 3 mistakes, you get punished, and they close shop pretty much, and that is what happened. I don't think we're good with ball in hand. I don't think we're good with the passing. I don't think there was a good combination play from the boys. It was very erratic, that first game.
Yeah, Joseph.
it is a breath of fresh air seeing Franklin being diplomatic, but Franklin, these days you're a good boy. Anyway, that whole tournament, the very first game of the day, I think set the pace for the rest of the tournament. The multiple handling errors, and someone was saying that those are the basics of Seven. Can you pass on your left? Can you pass on your right? Yeah. Can you hold the ball? Very basics of Sevens. And if you can't do that, then you're in trouble. But obviously, our captain, Alex Saturinda, had a day to forget in office as a leader. 2 yellow cards in the same tournament, very many handling errors. And I think he set the pace for the first game against Ghana. When he made that handling error, then the resultant scrum, we conceded from it. You get? And for a team like Uganda, it doesn't matter which players you put out there. But if at all you're chasing a game and you get a consolation try against Ghana, it's quite embarrassing when they've led you 17 and then you get back at least one catch try, sort of, to console yourselves. It's quite embarrassing.
That was a try which was pretty much a gift because Ghana were had held on almost until the final horn. It was pretty much on the second last play of the game. So it was underwhelming. That game underwhelming.
Joseph, if I must, is it the inexperience of the guys? Probably, of course, there were some experienced players in the unit. Alex Atrina, the captain, Okeng as well. It's a bit of experience, but overall, if your senior players, start off with the mistakes, then maybe they rub off the rest of the guys who are still and you're coming into the tournament actually as defending champions, so the target is on you. Is it inexperience at this stage, and you feel that fifth place is not bad for an experienced side? As you keep playing together and growing into these tournaments, they will get to the same level that we were used to.
No.
Fifth place is not good enough. Can never be.
You guys, you're coming from a very high bar. I'm trying to be fair too.
No, you see, if you're trying, for example, if you're trying to be fair, South Africa that won the overall thing already qualified for the top tier of World Rugby Sevens. Then Kenya is in the second tier of the World Rugby Sevens. Then the best performing team was supposed to go for the third tier, which is maybe the Challenger Series right now, and that place has been taken by Madagascar. That should have been the bare minimum. At least maybe finishing third or finishing fourth, but fourth isn't even enough. Maybe finishing third. That was the bare minimum. Finish third, qualify for that sevens third tier of rugby. But speaking of experience, so like you can't say that they didn't have the experience. When you have all those senior players, you have Aturinda, you have Okenyi, you have Etwao, you have Roy Chizito.
Wandera has been there as well. Mbaraka Wandera, Karima Rinaitwe.
Yes,
guys have been pretty much.
But they were not the core of the other group. Now they come into this group, and they have to sort of
but they have been part of the setup. You expect that this is a plug and play. Yes.
Okay,
where you remove Meko Korachi, put Aturinda, and he has stepped up. Where you remove Kasito or Areno Foiroth, you expect a Malcolm Okelo to sort of fill those shoes. So you can't say that there is inexperience when this has been a program that has been running, say, from 2014, when Tolbert took over that setup. So you would expect that whichever player he has is the player that they are going to mold and get ready for that competition.
About five of those guys have been in the setup, I think, for the last 4 or 5 years. But that should be good enough. Yeah,
a consolation there, Malcolm Okelo picking up the top scorer award. But I think most times you see when you're up there, sometimes you forget your surrounding. Nigeria did well; they had a good outing. You see Ghana improving as well. I remember at the African Games, we put Burkina Faso to the sword in one of those games. But you can see the teams are improving. Madagascar is now, pushing the envelope. They were in the final with South Africa. Zimbabwe beat Kenya, I think, in the third and fourth playoff with the last kick. So, you forget that the other teams around you are also doing what they're also putting in the same amount of work you're sort of putting in, and if you give them a chance, they'll pin you.
See, then when you're looking at it from the Ghana, Nigeria, Zambia point of view, you see it as improvement. When you're looking at it from the Uganda point of view, it is decline. That is the difference. It is decline.
And all the teams you've mentioned, all the nations you've mentioned, they are not 4-time African champions. We are, and if that's the performance, a 4-time champion and defending champion, if that's the performance you're putting up, then
I think there is a standard that I think Uganda set. And we are not asking these guys. We are not asking these guys to be
experts, and I'll speak like a fella. But for a team not to be without Adrian, Philo, Ian, Aaron, and you take them out of your starting 7 players. Really, that's you. The other 3 guys were still also very, very good. So you've taken out. If it's a cricket team, you've taken out nearly. I think most of your attack, your defense, your everything. So it's going to be, even if as a bench player, it's going to be very difficult for you to sort of just restart the system and continue expect to get the same results.
Dennis, it's patriotic of you to defend that.
If it is an overhaul, it would be understandable. But Etwawu has been part of that team, I think, was part of the winning
Since
team in
2016.
2017, 16.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of experience, being part of the success.
Frankly,
Karima,
it is one thing to be part of the team when actually
because
I'm
you play,
getting
you
5
actually,
minutes.
no, you actually play because it is 14 minutes. You actually play.
Yes, but
Actually
I'm
play.
getting 2.
You actually play, not 2 minutes.
So
Uh,
over
seven
my my time of let's say being on the team for 7 years, I might have accumulated a total of 20 minutes.
No, they have actually been playing. They have actually been playing.
Because the guys went to South Africa, and that could give you an indication that this is actually going to take time. It's not going to be what we thought would be plug and play, like Joseph mentioned. It's really going to take you time. So, first, lower your expectations.
Yep,
a little bit.
what we're asking for is not for the guys to beat whether Kenya, of course, and those were Kenya Morans, I think. We are not asking you to beat Kenya. We are not asking you to beat South Africa. We are asking you to beat the weakest teams in the tournament, and you didn't. That's the point.
Joseph, this is the Franklin you want.
Now this is the Franklin I know. The one
So-
we began with as another person.
So I think there is a lot of reflection that has to happen with that sevens group. Obviously, now that we are going to the sevens season in rugby, so you want to expect to see a lot of guys put their hand up now for the program.
Yeah.
Because
What next for the boys, Joseph?
So this tournament is now done. They come back home. We are going to have, the local sevens. But of course, before that, in July, there is supposed to be a Rugby Africa, as we all know.
Yeah.
But originally, I had a chat with someone from the union some time back. I won't mention their name.
You don't
And
have
I
to.
told them realistically, sevens cannot begin in June.
Yeah.
Like sevens on the local scene, they cannot begin in June. Because obviously, you're going to have the sevens national team away. You're going to have the 15s national team away. You can't begin this tournament now. And they said, no, we have a very big pool of players. So if you have a very big pool of players and those are the ones you've picked and that is how they are performing, then questions should be asked. And I believe that, we deserve answers. For example, when South Africa sends the South Africa A side and they win the tournament, they even beat your best 26-0 in the morning. Not afternoon, Gamuko, in the morning, you've just
First
woken
game.
up. First thing in the morning, you lose both games of Saturday morning and Sunday morning. There are very many questions, and the longer we stay on it, the more they will think that we are out to get them. But if we were, they would know. But I think, anyway, generally,
No,
and my
no,
last on that, I think
I'll
we need
protect
an
you.
overhaul.
I'll protect you. This is we're here to
We
ask
need
the
an
difficult
overhaul.
questions.
not an overhaul, not an overhaul per se, but major reflection. I think if I'm sure the guys are hitting themselves on the head that look, we
Could have done better.
yeah,
Yeah, could have done better.
could have done better.
Oh, yes. Keywords.
Because actually you want to treat that playoff game as an apology
Yeah.
for beating Ghana. You accept the apology.
Yeah.
We have accepted the apology from the boys, but next time don't.
Sandwich sort of style.
No, me, I have no problem
Yeah.
with the boys, but I sort of think that if at all you've been in a job, say for 11 years now, you've won 4 titles, and there is clearly you've clearly hit the ceiling. There is nothing more you can achieve.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time, to let other people also take over. and
That's
try
a
their
difficult
best.
conversation, and I was having it with a few people from the sport, the way I come from. That you say there are players. You need to understand sportsmen in that dynamic. How much ceiling does Joseph have, or how much ceiling does Franklin have?
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't have enough ceiling, there's no point in doing this anymore. You can't go. It just means that it can't go anywhere. This is it. So difficult conversations are there for the Sevens boys, but I think we hope that they can be able to come back stronger and put on a better performance as we look into the Africa Cup that's coming, but of course even the local rugby season. But just to finish the conversation with the rugby, the 15s boys, for them, big win in down south. Is that a morale boosting as they continue to prepare for the Africa Cup? We are, I think, if my count is correct, today we are 14 days away from the Rugby Africa Cup.
Now you see, this camp. I would say this camp actually has more sense than the previous camp of last year. last year, guys went to chill. We were playing village teams. Village teams were beating us. it was painful. But at least now you can tell that there was an improvement. First of all, within the squad, there is also an improvement within the teams that they're actually playing. They are now playing more competitive sides than the sides they played last year when they went to South Africa. Obviously, last weekend they won that game against Namibia. Then they moved to South Africa. They also won that game against the Limpopo Blue Bulls side, development side. And there was a specific man that played very well. I don't know, Feroth was very brilliant in that game. For a man that everyone was calling for his head. And then the coaches showed trust in him to even begin him in that game. That was a serious show of trust, and he didn't disappoint.
Obviously, so there was no pressure of a sort. When you're that far, you don't have that sort of pressure from the fans where you're going to hear words coming at you from the stadium. But of course, he did well. But for me, I thought Adrian was live wire in that number 15 jersey. He was live wire. I thought he was he ran his line so well. Obviously, Roth stood out, but I was quite impressed with how Adrian played that game, and you could see a bit of good play from especially the whatever they said plays. I thought they were very stable most of the time. They not challenged a lot. So I'm pretty pleased with what I've seen in those two games.
And was it you who was asking that where is Chisiga going to play? And most of the fans, the combination of the back three that they were calling for, Casito one wing, Chisiga another wing, Philip in 15. I believe that is a back three that can punish any team. And with the experienced coach and former Springbok like Kitchener, who is with the team now helping out the back three and the backs in general, I believe that is at least one section that we are sorted. At least we know our back three is sorted. Let us work on something else. And also, in my personal opinion, our front three is also sorted. I think you saw the difference between the front three that played against Namibia and the front three that started last Saturday. You can tell that now Maido has that number down. Santos Sentes has that number down. And I would begin Emiemo.
All right.
Over whoever began on Saturday.
As a fella, I watched some of the tournament last year in Nambole. We may not understand the intricate detail of the sport, but what do you feel from the two games that they played? They might have lost one, but are there improvements on the things that didn't go well when we were in Nambole, that you see that we've improved on this, we've improved on our, do they call them throw-ins? Line-outs, our line-outs. Things like that.
Yeah, those two key set pieces, the line out and the scrum. Obviously, the scrum has improved. Suppose you said I don't do this. Kudos to Ginger Hippos. Thank you for that good job done with with your scrum. It is now reflecting in the national team. Our scrum, we are scrummaging better. When you go to the line out, Julius Opio is jumping very well. You can even tell that Charles Uhuru isn't missed in that squad. Then the hookers, maybe they can do better. I believe our hookers can do better. The hookers are the ones who throw in the ball. Usually put on number 2 and number 16. I believe they can do better. Maybe they can work on that chemistry with the jumpers and the lifters in that line out. But we have improved in our set pieces. And then Franklin was also talking about open play. We are now playing deliberate rugby, not just passing the ball and crash, not off the cuff. We are now playing something deliberate. You can tell that this is a team that has been coached.
Yeah. But the back three, how do you put it out? Everybody's putting up their hand. Of course, when Desire came on, was doing good. Pius organized wants to make the number 8 role. Obviously, Dexy. You can talk of the people who have also solidified their place. Dexy and Julius Opio seem to have.
Dexy has been our guest here before.
Me, I have Brian Wandera all day starting in that flank position. Brian Wandera and Dexy, those are my starting flankers. Then I would probably switch out Pius for Alex Atoyenda. He's probably going to come and join the 15 setup. I would bring in Alex, especially for, that running game, not just crashing off the scrum down. You would need him. He would be more valuable to you in open play and, I would bring in Alex in there. Then, of course, Desire, but Desire would be a flanker for me. And Obviously, Pius Ogena.
You're starting to excite us. You're starting to raise our expectations when we pay our 30K. You're starting to raise our expectations when we pay our 30K.
And obviously the midfield, of course, you have Minister of Defense, you have
Isaac Masangazida.
Isaac Amasa. Of course, you have Gokro and Ian. Three guys, two positions. Obviously, Isaac Massa seems to have locked down that inside center probably.
Yes.
Now
So I'm playing Isaac on 12. Then I'm also playing Gokto in 13. Gokto
Okay,
is
I'm going to stop you guys because
Gokto is a very brilliant player.
The Rugby Africa because you're going into the detail. But the 15 boys are doing a wonderful job in South Africa as they prepare for that Rugby Africa Cup that will be hosted by Uganda, a path to the World Cup. So it is clear that URIU is investing in the 15 boys just to make sure they have a shot. We've been at the Sevens World Cup before, but we haven't been to the 15. So the big opportunity for them, especially with the home crowd backing them, to try and qualify for that World Cup.
I like your optimism.
Optimism. We play. You know, we play Kenya in that opening game, and whoever wins our fixture, then we'll face defending champions Zimbabwe. So it's really a very tough path, and you probably end up with Namibia in the final.
Yeah, for you to play with the best.
I love your hope. I just hope it doesn't kill you. But I love the hope that you have.
Hope has never been a strategy. Joseph has deflated my balloon completely. I'm having second thoughts about spending my 40K.
No, abantu bagambe mitwale Saturday you're watching 4 games. I think Joseph doesn't want to believe it, but 30K for 4 testing matches is a bargain. Yeah, you're technically watching every match at
I think for the neutrals, I love my country. Of course, when Uganda will be playing, I'll be very proud. But ultimately, we're going there for the experience, to see the new stadium, what those things, and drink soda, and whatever happens to the rugby, we may not be. I remember last year when I think Uganda didn't do well, but on that final day, some people were there. But again, wajiwali.
Yeah, but that is always, and obviously. One of the sponsors, Amanyo Takeaway in there, so you can expect something on the drinks.
And the sponsor, of course, and if Uganda wins, Mbeda will even be bloody. So,
but then for me, I still urge people kindly, look out for those giveaways, look out for those, discounted tickets and all that. I still believe 30K is a stretch, but. If you can afford it, you pay. Apparently, it is going to go.
I think in one of our first episodes, that's something that Franklin has spoken about, that people who come up with the pricing do not understand that 30K, when you're coming from SETA, is actually 100K.
Exactly.
It's not 30K as you think. It's 100K. The transit, and having a drink, then going back. So if you want me to watch 4 games in the day, meaning I have to buy a drink, I have to buy something to chew on.
Eat
so it is actually 100K. But when you make it 10K, it's 10K is 50K. Because then the other things
also the advantage with the advantage with an affordable ticket is that you can always carry along some extra people with you. It's just 10K, it's just 20K. You come and we go, but no one is going to pass by.
For 30K.
No one is passing by for 30K.
So it's only business.
It will be the staunch ones, and a few notos.
Just bring your
guys,
bring your madam.
That conversation is going to come on. That conversation is going to come on with Joseph when they preview the Rugby Africa Cup sometime. Please watch out for it. I think next week we shall be able to bring it to you, a special rugby edition where we shall be previewing the Africa Rugby Cup. And it should be, they'll give you all the details. You make sure that by the time you go, you make up your mind whether you're going for vibes or you're going for rugby on your 30K. That conversation will be coming up with Joseph and all his friends. Now I'll switch up the conversations very, very quickly, and staying with Franklin to talk about the basketball league, that where one team has the type of form that Wanderers has. They are winning one and losing another. I mean, City Oilers, a big win for them against UCU. But then, unfortunately, they were not able to do well on Sunday, losing to Summit Basketball Club. But I think the biggest I don't want to say they were not the biggest losers, but JT Jaguars, unfortunately, unable to come through the weekend in a very good way. But let's start with City Oilers. Yep. For them, I thought they had a very good win. And actually, when I saw the win on Friday, in my head, I was like, when we do the weekly wars, the first thing I'm going to ask Kyle and Franklin is going to be City Oilers, I think, using this second round to gel together, put on a very good run as they look to the playoffs, and then, while you're thinking the dictator is down, they come and surprise you. But the result, the indifferent result as well, in different form for them.
Should I go first? Look, first, after that first round show, everybody around basketball expected State Oilers to make some changes to that squad, and indeed they had to. They brought in Moses Maka, who in his first game showed a very significant difference that he brings to the group with not just his scoring, but also his rebounding and overall change that he makes with how State Oilers defend. Of course, he gives that presence in the paint on both ends of the floor. And so you could see that he has a gap that he has filled significantly for State Oilers. And they look a little bit better on both ends, whether it is defending, whether it is scoring, because Moses Maka is a 15 points, 10 rebounds guy around there. And so right now, State Oilers is in not a bad place. It's not an extremely good place, but they're in a better place than they were in the first round.
Yeah, but the form still not very improving. But let me go to Kyle. Kyle, City Oilers. And again, I'm going to allow you to speak about UCU officially. UCU cleaned up there by City Oilers on Friday, and then on Sunday, City Oilers just not following up that win against. Franklin mentioned that was his best game of the season so far. Summit in the dying minutes, clinching the win against City Oilers. A very indifferent form. Can they put together a very good run where, they sort of seeing daylight?
Yeah, surely. But before I go into basketball, I had a very bright minute or two in the morning on watching a certain video of our colleague Lydian Namaganda and Waswa, a Godfrey, a footballer. Of course, it was Lavidovi, but I can tell you it was good to see, and I wish the two the very best. Because it was Happy Father's Day video, and somehow one was called King Mino.
And the other?
And the other was My Babe.
Queen Mino.
So what's called Lydian My Babe? Then Lydian said King Mino. No, it was a video. No, but because Lillian is our former colleague in the sports circles, and then Waswa is a footballer, somehow they are attached.
She's a big fan of KCCA. I don't think I've seen her miss any game.
Yeah.
Even just before you would see her coming for games when she was heavy, but she was always ever present. So she's a big.
Now you can tell that she's going to be heavy again.
I don't know about that.
But anyway, we shall go into basketball. It was a very interesting weekend, I can say. And Friday, was not a very good day for the Mukono Bay side because they lost quite heavily to City Oilers.
I feel like a win against City Oilers is a statement win. I mean, against UCU is a statement win.
No, I will not call it a statement win as though, because UCU looked so poor on a day. And you can attribute that to they were limited so much from the outside. And I think it's been the case in most of the games they've lost. Sometimes they struggle to break down teams that have put up a good defense or that have organized so much on the paint. And it's something that they have to look at. But also it goes back to their inconsistency as players. Apart from Joel Carrera, who will give you somehow the same performance in one or two games, it's going to be hard to see another player do the same. The likes of Ibanda, the likes of Jimmy, the likes of Dushime, who somehow excited us in that game against Blazers. They always blow hot and cold. Yes, which has been the biggest challenge. And still in the game that they played against Jekyll Dolphins on Sunday, while you thought they won the game, still it was very scrappy. And you saw that all over the coach's face, complaining over funny plays, not playing that ball enough, because Coach Nick will always prefer a better played game than a victory. Because for him, he
Abdallah Mobiru style.
You're
better off losing 5-2, but when you
he minds so much on the structure and playing what they planned, not just forcing plays and putting that ball in the rim. So when you talk about UCU, of course it's going to be a longer campaign. We are still seeing lots of changes, more so when it comes to the columns that they take. Lose or win, it's not going to be any consistent. But when we talk about City Oilers, I think a fan of City Oilers should be a bit happy with how the team has looked like, at least in the second round, because now you see a team that is playing. But for me, my concern is still about how they defend. They still have lots of gaps when it comes to the defending. And while Big Mo Maka came in, he's not a player I fancy so much, more so because of how he loses his head easily. It's easy to annoy him on any day. If you're going to be a player and you want to take out Moses Maka, just keep tapping him. You see the man throwing the ball, exchanging words with fellow players and all that. So sometimes
very emotional.
Yes, and you don't want to have such a show from a player you call experienced. On the other hand, you saw Summit come up with cool heads, because the game got nervy, not once, but still they went through. By the way, for me, I salute the president for how he keeps so calm on that bench. Surely I've been close to benches, but you always see when they call funny calls, or when the game is not going your way. Somehow someone is kicking a bottle or punch, but the coach is always so calm. Whether it's a big shot, he doesn't clap. He just keeps telling the players to keep on. And Summit is going to surprise many teams, because I do think for those new signings, more so the guy in Nyembo, putting on 30 points and above, it's not something you're going to see any day. But also, the fans' favorite in Tembo is back, and this shot is falling. So if it keeps going that way, we're going to see lots of surprises. However, I think big up to everyone attached to Summit. That was a massive win. And of course, big numbers in the basketball fraternity were happy. And we are waiting to see what comes in the ongoing games, because it's getting interesting. When we started the first round, you could see only Namuongo as the team knocking on the door. But now you feel teams have gotten a bit better. That
means the playoffs will be very
interesting. And at least now you have hopes in the playoffs.
When Edwin talks about being, I don't know whether it's not being, I don't know whether he's talking about what he saw yesterday, that on their side, Haji Santru was protesting what he viewed as bad calls, and this side, the man was just seated, calm and collected.
Of course.
I mean, some of these things are really personality traits.
I think so.
So
Haji is always animated.
He's always animated, whether it is for Uganda, whether it is the Oilers, with any team that is attached to.
But who is not animated on that bench of City Oilers?
I think you get to a point where you think everything should.
No,
be
maybe you will tell me, because
I think
the coach.
You've earned the right if you've won.
I think Andrew Tembo is a calm guy. Andrew Tendo, the head coach.
If you've won 10 championships in a row,
but
there's some sort of entitlement you have that this is my house.
But also
Frank is saying Coach Andrew Tendo is.
Tendo is
But
it's pretty calm.
is animated in I think what one will call in a exotic way. While others are kicking bottles, he will just maybe run to the wall and stuff like that. But you always see him expressing his disappointment.
Frustration.
Yes,
Planned frustration.
but with the president, whether it is right or wrong, the man is just in
just
the
stays
seat.
calm.
Wow.
Franklin, our good friend Sudi Olanga didn't have a good weekend, and I was listening to a previous Summer Rose where they said that JT Jaguars going down to a JKL team that was missing most of its superstars. Another statement win from JKL Dolphins.
Dennis,
Yes.
before Frank goes to JT, I would love to pose a question. Why to you? Why isn't the campaign's best point guard playing Flavio Kecho, Becky Longom? What is wrong with that JKL team? Because we see around 4-3 players who have not played in something like 3 games, and there is no statement. We don't know exactly what is
I
happening
think
with
Flavia is out of
Nachi.
the country for on an education trip.
Yeah.
I've seen her statuses.
Yes, then what about Evelyn Nachi Inji and then Becky Longom?
The man is asking me like I'm the spokesperson of that team.
No, but you're close. You're always
I'm,
close to the.
I'm not that close to any team, but here is what I know. Two things came out over the weekend about Evelyn Achinji's absence. There were suggestions or reports that she did not train during the week, and then she showed up for a weekend game. And the coach was like, "No, you've not been training, so you're not going to play." Apparently, that did not go down well with her. Again, I'm saying reports because I haven't ascertained it yet. That did not go down well with her because she feels she should be playing, whether she has trained or not. Obviously, she protested that decision, and she was pretty much left out of the next game by the mere fact that you protested that. So she was left out of the next game on basis of indiscipline. Again, this is reportedly. So the reason why Evelyn is not playing is from the team side is indiscipline. She did not train during the week, and then she came to play, and then she was not handed the jersey, and so she's been put out of the team. Now, as far as I know, the JKO owner, if I may put it that way, he's in the words that they use these days, he's a hard guy. So he would rather not have you in if you're not, because the team rules are that you train, you play. If you don't train, you don't. So it is as simple as that, unless you return to training. Okay, that's when you can now again be considered. So I've not been at YMCA for some time where they train from. Whether she's training or not, but when the rules are that if you don't train, you don't play, it becomes hard until you go back to the team rules and all that. So for now, Evelyn is not going to play until she returns back to training or something like that. Apparently, if there are any other sanctions, I will find out. Now, when you say the team is missing superstars, I think the only miss there really is maybe Evelyn. But from the game that Ruth Retaru played against JT Jaguars, it kind of put the coach in a good place that, look, even if you're not there, we're going to find a solution to the kind of stuff that you're giving us. And I thought Retaru played quite well that game against JT Jaguars. She was, and every other, by the way, every other JKO player wanted that game so bad. They were aggressive from the word go, fighting for every loose ball, running transition very well, especially through Tamasha Nsubuga, who was playing defense at Dizanya at the top waiting for first break opportunity. So I thought they played really, really well in that game. So these teams, there is something that has not gone well with those two teams in the second round. I think it's more like what Kesise Panthers have been like. There's a bit of laxity. There's a bit of I think, lack of effort at some points in the game. And from what happened after that loss to JK, there was an extended meeting in the locker rooms, more than usual. You see, there was a lot, I think, to be said after that loss, and the response that the girls had, never mind the opponent, was UPDF, but there was some sort of response in the next game, and you want to believe that there's going to be change because of that extended meeting that they had. I think there was a lot to be said after that loss.
Yeah, are they running out of legs? Because I mean, now everyone is seeing this as an opportunity to win a championship. For teams like Nam Blazers, JT Jaguars, you sort of going to think that, man, there's an opportunity for us to upset the odds.
Running out of leagues, it can't be that necessary, because one, teams are playing pretty much the same number of games. If there's a team that could probably have run out of leagues, should be KCCA Panthers, because they have played almost 7 of the 11 second round games already, and so I don't expect another team to be out of legs when you're playing pretty much the same number of games. I think the squad is deep enough, but some of the stuff, I think it is just mental at this point. You don't want to say that there is lack of quality in that group. Yeah. There's quality. I think the coach is good. The Kawowo
Safeguarding, you should do some safeguarding courses that will help you. But another reminder as well that the National Basketball League is always available for you on Kawowo YouTube channel. Yep. So please make sure every week we'll also have an update. Last week with at Abuja Park. Every week, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Whenever we go live, you'll get a notification for you to be able to catch some of this action. The Summit City Oilers game was available yesterday, and I hope you guys were able to watch it and enjoy it, because
you can still go back and see
you can still go back and watch it.
Just to leave it again.
Yeah, from the preview that the guys have given, you can be able to from the review the guys have given, you can go back and watch it and see for yourself how Summit were able to pull up that win. So make sure you subscribe to the Kawowo YouTube channel for you to be able to watch the National Basketball League. There's action always Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So make sure you don't miss out on that, because we have everything available for you on Kawowo Sports. But we'll start the conversation from what we spoke about last week when we were trying to preview the final day of the big league, who was going up and who was coming up and who was going down. And I've been joined by the Koja of Kawowo Sports, Ismail Chionga, alongside Edwin Kaukule. Let's start with the big league promotions and relegations. And I'll start with Edwin. Last week, I think all the teams you guys predicted were able to go up. Unfortunately, Black Spar missing out. Calvary crowned the champions of the Uganda Big League. Calvary missing out. The only thing you got wrong, you guys, was Busoga United surviving. Busoga United actually went down. But let's start with those that came up. The results were, I think it was raining in West Nile. So it looked at a certain time like Black Power had gone up. Black Spar had gone up, but they had to wait for the result in West Nile for them to be able to confirm that they've been promoted. But in the end, Calvary, Buhimba, and Gaddafi, the 3 teams that are coming up, that final day, what did you make of it? Paida and Black Spar, the teams that missed.
Yeah, it was. First of all, it was a highly anticipated final of the campaign. And in most cases, for any football player, that is what you want to see. For some nerves to be on a shake, because you're still wondering who is taking the 3 slots. And for big league, it's always more than just the person who takes the trophy, because gaining a promotion slot is as good as winning a trophy. But also, fighting from the relegation zone on a final day is as good as winning something.
Yeah.
So it was a very highly anticipated day. On a day as such, Gaddafi was on the road, Buhimba was on the road, and it was only Calvary playing at home, but playing against a side that also had a chance to get into the 3 slots, that is Paida. and the game was slightly interrupted by weather. I trained, so Calvary's promotion was a bit delayed, while Buhimba and Gaddafi at least confirmed their promotion a bit earlier. Gaddafi was taking on Kataka, and Buhimba was taking on Chinda Boys, a side that plays around Mitiana. So when you look at the three teams, you think these have been the best teams. At one point, Black's Power looked like it was going to squeeze itself into the top three.
Conversation.
Yes, but there was a bit of inconsistency, and I think they were a bit also affected by change of home ground, because they used to host their games from Akibua for the most of the time, and so there were some changes within the team that affected them. Then when you look at a side like Gaddafi that has only spent a season in big league after being relegated, you also feel like they have given a chance for UPL football to return to Entebbe. The last side that we saw play UPL was
Masavu FC.
Masavu, a side that Issa Avidie followed up very closely. And I love it that he has also followed Gaddafi games very closely. Because
has it been the change? Gaddafi now, of course, backed by Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation, calling themselves the printers.
Yeah.
Has it been the change from Ginger to... has that sort of worked in their favor as well?
Yes,
because they had a good
course.
Following in Ginger, by the way. They had a very, very good following in Ginger.
They had a good following, but you saw they were affected by changes that when they had acquired a big sponsor, they had to change name. So that failed. So the budgets and logistics a bit of affected them, losing players, losing a coach and stuff like that. So when they sold off the team to UPPC, you felt like there was new fuel within the team. The support was quite massive, and you can see the players that they have. Most of those players are players that are experienced. They've been around the likes of Savio Kawowo. You will talk about the keeper, who has now, I think, gotten 2 golden gloves in the big league. Last time he was in Mbara, as well as putting up a good show. You will look at their squad and you feel like this is a squad that can equally play.
They have good experience
in the UPL, and I'm sure that team is going to be even improved going into the UPL or top tier. So when you look at that, you feel that these three sides, I will talk about Buhimba slightly. They are also going to give us quite a good derby of that region. Of course, it would be so good if at all they were still in Hoima. Now that Chikube was taken off Hoima, it now takes off the Hoima derby, but at least still, they come from the same region. They share a fan base.
Where is Buhimba going to host their games?
I'm not yet sure, but if they host from the same ground, then it becomes more interesting.
Yeah.
Because now it adds more fuel to the derby, and that's what you want to see as a football
Would there
fan.
be a chance for them to host in the new stadium, especially after AFCON and all those things?
Chiyonga has been to the stadium quite more often than I.
Yeah, but and I wanted to use something that you had mentioned in the morning. Football, the UPL back in Entebbe with Gaddafi. Hopefully they'll host from the Work Stadium. Chikube, okay, Hoima, again having a team, but also the UPL back in West Nile, because all the other teams had really gone. The teams were used to Duparaka and Arua Hill, and Arua Hill eventually even moving to Gulu, had dropped out of the UPL. But as I move to Ismail Chiyonga, and Ismail, by the way, I'll remind you, has a very, very good running article on Kawowo Sports about the latest transfer news in the UPL, in the football season. So if you want to know where your favorite player is moving to, make sure you subscribe and look out for those stories from Ismail Chiyonga, who has been updating you where the latest the conversation is going, basically. Who is your club signing and who are they looking to sign as the transfer season is on. But Ismail, 2 teams that have been in the UPL going down, Maida and Busoga United dropping out of the big league and into the regional tournaments.
No, Arua Hill.
Arua Hill as
Busoga.
well, actually 3 teams. Arua Hill, Busoga
Because
United
Maida
and
is still in.
Maida was one of the teams that were chopped.
They
I
were
think
still
Boma, Mida, no, Boma, Arua Hill, Busoga United. Who else?
And Maida.
Those are three
Those-
former UPL sides
so
that are
three
gone
former
down.
UPL sides. I mean, what is not happening? Sometimes when you drop into the big league, the assumption is as a team that has been in the UPL, you can be able to push your way back into the UPL. But for you to drop down in the regional leagues, that means you're going to have to work 3 times harder, because those regional leagues are not very, very easy for you to come through them.
You see, one of the biggest problems we have in Uganda is that people think football ends and stops with relegation and promotion. It's sad that we're seeing teams go, especially Busoga United, because I remember, I think last year, I remember seeing the FUFA president, Engineer Moses Magogo, joining hands with the authorities in Busoga, including the Kingdom.
Yeah.
They wanted to make it the model community club. So I don't know where that ended, because we are now seeing them moving from the big league to the regional tier. But of course, the question will be their existence. Will it still be in its existence? Because one of the issues we always face in Ugandan football is that whenever a team gets relegated from the Premier League, 70% of those teams disappear. They get extinct. It's glad to see Arua Hill still present. Of course, a lot changed. Management and even changed location to Gulu. We are seeing Busoga, one of the teams that used to produce a lot of talent from Jinja. They've gone now down to the regional league. So it's a little sad, but the question is, are they going to still be in existence? For me, that's my worry, because the deeper you go, the
People
more
lose interest.
especially those that fund. Maybe this could be a wake-up call to Engineer Moses Magogo and the king of Busoga, because I remember there was a very, very big function unveiling a plan to revive Busoga and to make it one of the best community clubs in Uganda, because Magogo has always pleaded for community clubs.
Yeah, true.
And after failing to...
Yeah, we've seen the success of community clubs, Chitara. So
You know, success is also relative. Because for me, it's all about longevity. Chitara is going to be tested this season after the departure of David Kasozi. Is it David Kasozi? Deo Kasozi. So we've seen teams come in a community setting, like we saw on Dumparaka, we saw Arua Hill, we saw even Chitara before.
Yeah.
So those teams come with a lot of vibe, with a lot of promise, and then after a few seasons, they go. We've seen Masakero C, Mbarara United. Forget this Mbarara City. There was Mbarara United. We used to have Uganda TC. So they always come, but when they go, they get extinct. And
Is it the one that got promoted to big league?
that's Uganda United.
Uganda
The
United.
TC, when I asked people from the side, they told me it no longer exists. So
Uganda Town Council.
yeah, it's always a big worry. It's always a big worry. And by
What's
the
the challenge with community clubs? Sometimes I think it's where does the buck start and stop? Who's responsible for what?
the biggest issue.
People will be for community teams. People will be happy to associate when they are successful, but when they are not successful, everyone is apportioning blame, and there's sort of no one to be responsible for. For example, at Vipers, the buck starts and stops with Dr. Lawrence Mlidwa. But then for a community club, you'll be like, Chiyonga will be like, things like
Yeah, you see, the issue starts with the structures. Because, yes, we have these community clubs. Say there is Mbale Heroes, there is Chitara, there is Masakero C, there is Luwero United and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's backed and financed by just a few individuals and not the community. It's something that needs to be... I don't know how to explain it, but remember when Villa tried to do the VMT,
Yeah.
such things happen
Kai was one of
when
the VMT.
Yeah, I think I think he still holds his membership. But you see, the thing is,
That was
one
a
of the
very
biggest
challenging
problems
time.
that we have as clubs that try to be community is there will always be a big man who feels he
You should have more say than everyone else.
yes, and by doing so, a lot of people are just away. But still, when they invite people to come and join the community club, they don't contribute apart from yapping. So, for me, the biggest issue is the structure.
There's nothing they bring to the table.
Some, and when there are those
want to
people
ask
that
Kyle
want to
his
contribute,
experience.
when there are those people that want to contribute, the big man will always want to be the big man still. But what they forget is that when you receive contribution from various people, then they will have a say, especially in deciding the leadership, in wanting to know what information comes out of the club every day, and they will be eager to know the day-to-day running of the club. But we have an issue that when, say, Ajimandela is that the helm at Villa, he does not want your contribution. He only wants your contribution when things go the other way. But when he's the one funding, you'll not have an essay, even if you are a VMT. And that's how the VMT, that's how the VMT failed. Because first of all, like I said at the start, it's all about the structures. When you have the structures, for instance, Villa used to have a congress, and we knew what the congress had to do, the responsibility of a congress. And then what do other members have to do? And then what does the executive do? So when you don't have a structure that explains the roles and responsibilities of each of these members, then it becomes difficult.
Yeah, Kai, what was the experience from, sort of trying to run Villa as a community team rather than a team that is backed by moneybags, Mr. Chionga and Kyle, and the decision making was only up to them?
Of course, VMT was in a spirit that Villa should be owned by the people that support it.
Yeah.
But they were going to be in different classes because there was a figure of just being a Villa member. Then there was a figure whereby you sit on the board of funds or that represents funds. Then there was also a class that was meant to sit on the high, or I want to call it high table. But
Yeah, there was the Congress and then the executive.
Yes,
And then the ordinary member.
So the executive was that was now going to make the day-to-day decisions or follow up on what happens exactly. And so, of course, there was a bit of a challenge when it came to picking who is going to be the president, because the people that were running the club by then felt the club was going to be swindled away by people that they thought were not the right people to run the club. So, of course, the whole structure faced a big challenge. But I, for one, I was one of the people who was supporting VMT because I felt, first of all, it's not going to be a big burden on one person. It's going to be a burden shared. That if Chionga brings, Dennis brings, I bring, at the end of the day, we are sharing a certain goal. But also, it was going to bring up a fun inclusion in that. If fans are saying we want Alan Okero to be a Villa player, then we call them on table and say, let's collect the money to bring Alan Okero. At the end of the day, the fans are going to feel it. They're going to feel that kind of whip of spending. That if you need big, you're going to spend big.
Yeah.
Currently, we are not sure whether Villa have a head coach. But when you go through the reports that are reaching us, at least, they clearly say that one of the things that brought disruption was money. That when they gave him a contract when he was still out to peruse through, it was reading a different figure, and when he reached on ground, it was also a different figure.
we're
So
coming.
it goes back to what is in the coffers of the club, and I still think for community clubs that is the way to go.
Yeah.
Because if I am a VMT, I will know that I have to watch home games, I have to buy a home kit, I have to buy club products, because they were thinking about different products like selling notebooks, selling bags, selling water, having things
Vida
that
water.
can be used on a day-to-day expense. So I think that is the way to go, and I think it only needs to be revised so that it can work for any Villa fan out there, even those that are way far from Kampala, that they can, because Villa has fans in Arua, in Gulu, all over the country.
Yeah.
So
And
if you bring all those fans on the same table, then you have quite a big army to fight with.
We're going to come to that Villa conversation later. Before we digress from the big league, just to finish with Chionga, Katida and Iganga United, the teams to come up so far. There's one more. We're still waiting for that competition to finish. I think it's in the Resori region. But I mean, for Maida, Busoga United, Arua Hills, what could have gone wrong for them in the big league, for them not to be able to push and compete against the other teams there? Because you felt with the experience from the UPL, it could be easy for them. Maybe you lose one or two players, but you can still find players from within the region that can help you, push the envelope and gain promotion immediately.
I think it's the leadership and also the lack of finances. Because I always tell people here that sometimes it's even difficult to know which is the strongest team in the league, even if it means UPL. Because sometimes it's all about money. If a team is well facilitated, regardless of the players they have, they will always be competitive. And if another is not facilitated well, regardless of the quality of the players they have, they always go down. So sometimes it's always about the money. Does the team pay players on time? Does the team have a training ground? Does the team have a specific home ground? The fan base and things like that. But it all starts with the fact that, do we have the money first to ensure that the players we have are always paid on time?
Yeah.
Are there bonuses? Secondly, can we hire a good coach because we have the money to pay? Can we sign good players? So without that, sometimes it's even difficult to say onazeyo munafu nnyo oli awangudde ekikopo w'amaanyi nnyo. I remember the late Fred Kajoba at one time at Lugogo revealed that in a post-match press conference, his side had just lost to KCCA. And when he was asked where he thinks the game was lost, he said, "Timu esasula, ekubi etasasula." So it was all about, so it was easy that the other ones are very well motivated. And the ones I'm coaching are not. So sometimes it's not about even the game on the pitch.
Yeah.
And I remember in one of the quotes that I'll never forget about him, rest in peace, Coach Fred, a journalist reported that players at Bright Stars then and him were demanding around 3 months in arrears. And then he came out and said, "I said tubanje miezi mwenda." Tubanje miezi isatu. So such things. And happening in Ugandan football, it's always difficult to have the consistency. For instance, we are talking about Bihimba coming up. We are talking about the anticipated derby against Chitara. But we don't know whether Chitara or Buhimba will be in existence in 3-4 years to come.
5-10 years.
And one of the reasons, by the way, why we fail to have these regional derbies is because the teams cannot coexist in the same area. Like we've seen in the Premier League with London, Manchester, Liverpool, where I have Everton, then Tyneside, where I have Newcastle and Sunderland. The reason is simple.
Aston Villa.
Yeah. When you see Buhimba now coming up against Chitara, they will divide resources there. It's the same thing that happened with the Ginger teams. Fortunately, they survived for a little longer. Busoga, Gaddafi, and then Bull.
There was also Ginger North.
So in the end, there will always be one.
Yeah.
Actually, by Ugandan standards, we should be having just one team per region that is in the top tier. Because you'll now find division in terms of affiliation. So when Arua Hill came up, it signed almost 90% of players that were featuring for Nubaraka, and thereby
Even the
we can-
administrator.
even the administrators. And it's going to be the same thing with the Bohimba and Chitara. I'm saying this year, and we'll see it, because I remember,
That weekend on Uparaka.
yeah, for me, the thing is one team per region. It's always exciting to say Chitara and Bohimba, they are going to make a Hoima derby. It's always interesting, but it's not sustainable by Ugandan standards. So in the end, we end up failing. We talked about UPCC, UPPC, that is Gaddafi, getting promotion. I got information that he could use Nachivubo, so football could not, may not return to
Entebbe.
Entebbe, top flight. As of now, that's what I heard.
I think if they want to get some money from Gate Collection,
Of course,
Entebbe
but
would be a better option
do
for
they
them.
have a standard pitch that can host the Premier
Masabu
League
used to
games?
host their games at that works ground.
No,
Unless
no,
now
it used to
doesn't.
be at, forgotten the place, but close to the lake. But also, they went there a little later because they had to work on that pitch as they hosted their games at Wankru called Nachivubo.
I feel for if they want to be sustainable, Gaddafi,
yeah.
they would rather play in Entebbe.
Yeah.
There are a lot
Somebody,
of people there who can afford to go and watch a game at 4 p.m.
Yeah, but Chionga, when you look at that work stadium, it's not in a very poor state. That if UPPC and the Entebbe municipality, if they can put up some resources, and
it's what we want,
and
because
we improve on something like dressing rooms, the toilet as what and stuff like that. You feel because the ground is a bit leveled. Anyway, it can be improved for the UPL standards.
and
but
that's what we all want.
Yeah.
We want teams from Entebbe to play in Entebbe.
Yes,
A
exactly.
team from Wachiso play in Wachiso. A team from Kampala, a team from Arua, they should be playing.
Of course, for Wakiso Giants who have gone down now, I don't think the Wakisha ground will be very busy. They may be playing in Kabale, where...
Yeah. But of course, their home games will still be in Wachiso.
Yes.
If they had to play in the big league. So somebody raised a
are
very
there
important
chances of
question.
not playing?
Like I said, 90% of teams that go down always get extinct.
Chionga has not answered me.
No. I've been in Ugandan football for long to know this.
Yeah.
Where is Masakero C? Where is Victoria University? Where is Alua Hill? Where is Gaddafi? Because yes, we are talking about Gaddafi, but we know it's not Gaddafi. They are just
But even
lucky.
Wakiso Giants to come up, I think they used to be called, they took over Kamori something.
Yeah. So now just imagine, for people that have not been too much into football, they don't even know there is a team called the Kamori Park. And when we also got Kamori Park, it meant people in Kamori losing a team.
Yeah.
So literally, it's extinct. You know. So
Even Arua Hill Chionga used to be called Dove.
Dove's All Stars.
Dove's All Stars,
Yeah,
yes.
I remember it was your team by then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was funded by
It was
Aziz
your
Gaman.
team.
Yes.
But not so many people even remember that.
Exactly.
That means it's extinct. We used to have Dayale,
Mogisu United
Umeme,
took over, I think, Admin FC in Mbale or something.
you know.
Yeah.
Somebody raised a very important question about loyalty to these teams. I think it was on social media where people were being blamed for not watching the local game. I think it was a statement made by Palaso calling upon Ugandans to watch the Uganda Premier League instead of the EPL. And somebody said, you're calling us to support a KCC AFC, a team owned by an authority that is always disturbing people on the streets. He talked about police. Eh? You know, we all know what police does,
Yes,
apart
yes.
from the police FC. UPDF, the JATA, and all other items within the UPDF.
Yes, it's a sports show.
Then
You are a
URA, they are closing people's shops. I'm not saying the FC. Then NEC, we know they are doing every business.
every business construction.
Construction and every business construction. And people believe these should be jobs done by other individual companies.
UTC
You know?
should have a team as well. Okay, they used to have.
They used to have
UEB,
Umeme and
yeah.
UEB.
Yeah.
So the questioning was, why should they have a league that is occupied 50% of teams like this. But I told them, this is Africa. Without those teams,
Yeah.
there is no football.
Look at it even in the context of in Rwanda as well. All the top teams.
Not just in Rwanda. I'm
Yeah.
talking about Africa. And
Exactly.
I think apart from maybe South Africa, but even those Arab teams that we see, most of them are attached to the army, to the tax authority,
To the kingdom.
Yeah.
to the king. No, forget the king. The kingdom is okay. For the kingdom is okay because it's a community. But I'm talking about government institutions.
Yeah.
Because you don't find Manchester United being a team attached, say, to the police. Don't we have police in England?
Manchester.
You know?
We have, of course.
Don't we have a tax board in England?
It is there.
Don't we have a ministry in England?
Yeah.
A
In
military.
Spain, a military, something like that. So, but I explained to them that this is Africa. Without these teams, I can tell you, 70% of leagues don't exist in Africa.
Yeah.
Because these are the teams that can ably pay. Look at NEC, look at KCCA, look at URA,
Yeah. UPDF.
UPDF, and police.
Police.
Even
And now,
with the
and now
little
the
pay.
new UPPC.
And now the new UPPC. So, in the end, we need these teams, but there is a little attachment. And that's why, even if these teams are so strong,
I think when you go to URA games, there's only that one guy who's always supporting.
and is an employee,
He's a bus driver.
you know, is an employee of the team.
He's an employee of the
Yeah.
team. But
So,
some
actually not of the team, of the authority. You know, the taxi body that they tell you, hey, you are driver, but you want football, you drive this team. You know, so it's always difficult,
Yeah.
but we have to embrace it at least for now. As with the community clubs still failing, we need those.
There has to be a
institutions.
balance between
Yeah,
the
yeah.
two. Yeah, some wise words there from Ismail Chiyonga for the teams that have gone down: Bright Stars, Wakiso Giants, and Barry Heroes. There are lessons for you to pick when you go into that big league. It's not going to be very easy for you to be able to bounce back. But that's what the big league concluded this weekend. And I must say, from the guys last week, that the photos that I saw from the award ceremony, that the trophy does not look very bad, guys. But you will see the photos of.
You know, a trophy is a trophy.
Yeah, a trophy. Is
What I don't like about it is the mutaimbwa that I don't know. I don't know. It's like a mutaimbwa that is folded.
yeah, but the trophy.
No, it doesn't look nice. And by the way, for people that do these awarding ceremonies, get out of the pictures.
Yes, that is something I don't know why Ugandans are always want to be part
I
of.
want people to go and watch the awarding ceremony of Portugal after winning the
UEFA Nations?
Yes. You know, we've always had, we always say the transformation in football on the pitch, management, and things like that have always changed. Now, the Europeans or the world is even moving away from that, how do they call it?
The podium?
The podium. Not everyone should be there. And what those guys did,
Or they separate the two. You hear?
yes, what those guys did, because sometimes the podium is too small to accommodate everyone, including players. Those guys, the Seflin and the UEFA guys, stood around here giving people their medals.
Yeah,
And then after receiving a medal, a player,
goes to the other side.
the other side. In the end, they are only players. But here, sometimes you don't even blame our people. But this is something that should change. You're still on the podium, you're giving somebody the trophy, and of course the pictures will always come before you leave. But these guys, you go and watch, Ronaldo was handed the title, the trophy, I think 5-6 meters away, even from
Yeah.
his teammates. So he walks with the trophy, finds his teammates ready to receive it. It always looks bad to see a Rogers Mulindwa,
Yeah,
a Moses
true.
Magogo,
It's bad
a club
optics.
CEO,
You're very right, it's bad optics, and I've seen
a
it.
Plasconi manager.
Yeah, it's very, very bad optics.
No, but I saw the same when they were awarding the guys that have just concluded the Genocide Memory Cup. They were awarding from a different point, and then they had a bigger podium for the
Yes.
trophies and photos.
That's what it should be.
And you felt
it
was
the
more
assumption
colourful.
is that this is glory for people who have contributed.
Of
to
course,
it.
you've done your
as
job
as
awarding,
club
leave.
official or something, or bank manager or a sponsor representative, you have no, you shouldn't be part of that glory.
Yeah,
So
because you're receiving your glory
Yes.
from the other side.
Yeah.
All the cameras are on you,
On you.
as you give these people medals.
normally,
After
Chiwa,
that-
I've seen what people do who are very intelligent about it is the media people who do it.
You know.
They make sure they only share photos of the team and not a team with a team.
Yes, they
officials.
do. But the issue is, you see, the moment this this trophy is hoisted,
Eh.
when you give it to me here, I will not tell you Sokove what to do, you know.
I'm already excited.
You know,
Yeah.
so you've already seen that people are receiving this. Let's look at, I think the FA, that stadium. I don't want it by the way
Wembley.
the Wembley players moving up, receiving, and then returning. But at least the guys receive from there. They come down, they celebrate. We've not reached that extent. We don't have a stadium like that.
We shall get there, don't we?
Yeah. But by the way, that Nambole, you remember the old Nambole where I used to move up here, where the big men always move to go to greet the teams. I remember there were times in the past where team winners would just move up here, you get your medal, you go, and then celebrate on the pitch.
Yeah.
So Rogers Mulindwa, Magogo, muve mbifananyi.
That's a message there from Ismail Kionga. But to finish our football conversation, let's talk about the new changes at my favorite football club, KCCA. KCCA borrowing a leaf. Kyle said that Buchanga Temwagala Copa Vipers, Katimwakopie. But KCCA unleashing a new...
You know, Kyle started from Chitei.
I know.
Yeah, so I mean St. Mary's,
But
I-
not just standard the
Yeah.
village.
But
Yeah.
I was just saying.
KCCA unleashing a new, unveiling their new technical team, and of course also picking a leaf from what Vipers did last season, and appointing 2 people to be in charge of the job. Jackson Magera remains, but he's been joined by Brian Senyondo to beef up that technical team. And let me start with Chionga. But also, there was another dynamic duo unveiled for our championship team, Molebe Kwaso and Fred Muhumuza. They will be in charge of that team. But let's start with the KCCA one. Jackson Magera and Brian Senyondo. Let me start with Kyle. Kyle, what did you make of that appointment?
Of course, I feel it's a gamble, but it's a gamble you want to take as someone who has seen the 2 coaches, because you feel one, Coach Magera has been around. So if you're talking about being consistent and letting the team grow, you have a man who has been around. He can easily assess the team. He knows the people at the club, so he can easily associate with them. So you're just beefing energy.
Is Magera there because he understands the politics of the club? You always want to have someone who, even in the case of Vipers, Fred Mohus had been there, so and Luyinda was added to the does Magera bring? Is that what he brings to the table? That he understands the politics of the club.
Why not the DNA?
So he understands the
It
DNA.
goes past just the politics. It goes back to what is at the club. I will talk.
Ismail, you'll agree with me. One of the things they said about why David Oboa failed at URA is because he sort of didn't understand it's not that he didn't understand football, but he never understood the politics of the club.
Of course, that can be a challenge. But here, I'm looking at it past just the politics. You know the whole environment.
Yeah.
You've been around. He was around at the era that was successful. He returned, of course, when things are not so bright. But you feel he's a person that knows the club in and out. And I believe that will provide at least a bit of calmness, but also continuity in some of the things that have been happening at the club.
So why don't we keep him as an assistant and make Brian Senyondo the head coach?
Of course, for me, when I look at this whole story of co-coaches, I'm not a big fan of it, because somehow it leaves me with an insight of they are not so good for one to be exactly the head coach, though I can be corrected and be explained further why it's now being the new trend. However, I also look at it from a point of our coaches with their ego. If you keep them on the same level, then you're going to calm a bit of noise and what this one is, who steps on the other's toes, because now you've given them a same tagline. And unlike at Vipers, I think at Vipers it was not so planned. It was more like an escape route
yeah.
that the coach has left. So now, what do we have?
You are all assistants
Yes.
before him.
So let's have you as co-coaches.
Yeah.
Now we are not so sure where
Where they will go next
where
season.
KCC had to weave them and then say, okay, I think now this is what we remain with. These are going to be our co-coaches. Yeah, they're not so experienced in coaches that they are very old, so they are quite young minds that are still brilliant and can work together. I still think if they are to work together, it can be a good duo, because when you look at Brian has a few elements that I think Maguire doesn't have,
Yeah.
and one of those is not fearing to take decisions. I have been close to Coach Maguire when I was still having a few things at Villa, but you felt sometimes he would take long to make a decision. And I still recall, even on the day when Kakande made his debut, and the day when he scored against Busoga, a certain player didn't turn up with shoes, so the player was chased out. So Chiria says, no, this guy should just come onto the team. And so there was a discussion, and at the end of the day, Maguire just says, Amalegajia. But at the end of the day, this is the guy that gives you the winning goal, and I think his life has
Completely
changed.
changed since then.
Since that day. So when it comes to decision making, I think Brian will be a big take. But when it comes to organizing a team, how it plays, and how you can have a team that has good football and winning football, Maguire is quite the man. So when you talk about a duo, I think they will complement each other.
Yeah,
And that's why I say it's a positive gamble for me.
I'm going to ask Chiyonga the difficult questions. This is not the first time KCC is doing this. They've had Sam Simbo and Mike.
I think this is the first time they're doing it, because though Simba and Mike were treated almost at the same level, but Mike was the manager.
Was the manager.
Then
That's what
Simba was the
That's
coach.
what I was going to lay the platform, that between the two of them, because I've seen, even when Abdallah Mobi was around, Maguire was always the one on the touch and trying to, give out instructions. Brian Sonyolo seems the same type as well. He always wants to have things to say to the players. Who's going to be the guy who's going to stand out? And for Maguire, what sort of message is KCC sending to him? They've not sort of told him that you our guy now, run with it. They've always held him back. Okay, come back. Things are not doing well. Be here in interim, but they haven't given him the confidence that you know what, now we have confidence in you. You can take this team forward.
For people that follow me on X, I made a joking post, and in the end I said that it's for people as aged as me or above that will understand this. I had a picture of Jackson Magera, Godfrey Nyola,
Chidia.
Ibrahim Chiria, and Richard Waso and Edward Golola. And I said every team have their Nyola. Magera is becoming the Nyola of KCC. Chiria is the Nyola of Villa. Of course, Express has their own Nyola, who is the Nyola. And Edward Golola and Waso at Vipers. So the Nyola, in the football dialect, is that person that is always there to cover up whenever things are not going well, but is not trusted when things are about to change, or if they want to change things. And I think Ned is falling prey to this. He's still a young coach who I think is a good one, but the fact that you're not trusted, especially in times like this, and they are bringing a coach younger than you, because I think Brian is around 31, according to the documents, and Magera should be nearing his 50s, if not already there. So a coach that is younger than you, you started coaching when this guy was a boy, and currently you kept at a club. I think you have a DNA better than he does, having been around, like you said, during Mutebi's era, then worked with Abdallah Mbiru, also worked with Sergio Traguel.
Yeah.
And then you cannot be trusted to this level. And after handling this team in the interim for over 10 games after Abdallah Mbiru left. So for me, it's a little sad. And if you're Jackson Magera, you try to gauge yourselves. and see, am I the right person? Is coaching my job? Am I always going to be an assistant? So those are things that you sit down and try to reflect, especially with the appointment of a guy younger than you.
And, just to cut you short, I think it was going to be difficult to have Brian Senyodo be an assistant coach. He's been the places he's been so far.
Thank you.
He's been the, he's been the guy.
You see, the issue comes from like this: we have coaches that so much want to hide behind other coaches. Sometimes it's the nature, somebody being there to be an assistant. Sometimes they say it's born, but then if you want to be a head coach, then you try to move away from just being the man behind. That's how More started, because I remember More was also under Mike. Forget this More of, I think 2021 when Mike left.
Yeah.
There was a More who said, let me go and take over Victoria
University. Yes, true.
and UPDF. There is an Abdallah Mbiru who said, no, I'm not now under Mike Mutebi or Georgia Best in Sydney. I feel I can do the job. There is an Ayala who said, Abdallah, you're gone? Yes. I'm not going to wait for you to get a job.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand on my own.
Yeah, I'm going to step up.
Then so many coaches that have come through, especially after separation with those we say their mentors, because there is always that time when you go to separate. For instance, Coach Kebi has always hidden behind Mike Mutebi. When Mike Mutebi...
But you're using the word hidden. You say they have
they've always worked together. When Mutebi left, I think it's just this year, this year.
Yeah.
Before he joined
The previous
Express.
season.
Yeah, that Kebi stood on his own. And we saw...
But was it planned as well? Because he was an assistant to the coach that was sacked.
The coach was...
And
you
then
know,
he was given a chance, and he
kind
was
of
even never
interim,
announced.
actually.
He was
Kind of
never
interim,
announced.
You know? So Jackson needs to wake up one day and say, yes.
He's tried at Vida and
No, but if you remember, even at Villa, he was assistant.
He was an
coach.
assistant to Petros.
And then when he was left with the job, there was not even an official announcement, kinda that, hey, you are there, but you're not trusted. So
In fact,
he
there was a
needs-
confusion whether it is
Whether it's
Chiria
Chiria
or Magera.
And for most of the Villa fans, they thought, not just thinking, but they were like, oyo magera yako. I mean, Chiria yabikora, you know? You need to move out of that shell.
Yeah.
And I think Magera, this was a time to say, I'm staying as a head coach. If not,
I'm leaving
I'm leaving the club.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the good of yourself. It's not always about money. It's so not always about having a job, because the job will always find you
Yeah.
if you get up as a head coach. Coach Poch Wanuka was always behind Freddy Kajoba, but there was a time he said, no, I can stand on my own. He's getting jobs. Brian Senyondo is getting jobs because he said, I can be a head coach with the Synergy, Mbarara City. But at his age, but we are talking about a guy who is less than 32 years. But he's been managing these teams. He even gets a national team job.
Yeah.
Yet we have so many coaches.
And at that national level, was working with guys like Simon Mesaba.
You know, now look at
And,
Syria.
and yet Magera was already in that line of coaching underage national teams.
The under 17. He should be the one in charge now.
Yeah.
But he's never had a strong foothold to say, I'm now a head coach. So for me, I'm not so happy with that, especially on the side of the Magera that I know. I want him to come out of that shell. I was speaking to one of my confidants in football, and he said it's now time for Sakampima to get a job of his own. Because Saka has also been there. He's very knowledgeable about the game. He has a lot of players that he's nurtured.
There's some young coaches around KCC who are good. Sakampima, Yasin Mugabe with the
Yeah,
coaches.
Yasin should still be around with the goalkeeper.
Habib Kavuma.
Habib should also still be around. But then there is this guy you feel like, if Brian can get a job, if Ayala can get a job,
Yeah.
because we are talking Ayala, who we all thought could only work under Mbiru.
Yeah.
And I remember at his unveiling at Wachiso, he made a statement that left me giving him kudos. I think it was a question from Bossa, Dennis. Are you ready to be a head coach? Don't you doubt yourself? And his answer was, to doubt myself and to doubt us all around, to doubt my qualities as a head coach is to doubt Mike Mutebi, Georgia Best in Simbe, and Abdallah Mbiru, the guys that I've worked under. You know, that confidence.
Yeah.
Yes, I've worked under these guys. I've learned a lot. I can stand on my own.
Yeah.
Magera, try to move on. Sakampima, if you overstay there.
Saka was so much in school football.
Yes.
He's the head coach of the junior team.
He's the head coach of the junior team and also part of the assistants at the team. So I think there is a time you have to move.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you go, there is a high-paying job or not.
Yeah.
More has done that. Abdallah did that. Poch Wanka did that. Brian Senyondo, at his age, should be an assistant. But it's difficult to hire him as an assistant because he showed he can be a head coach.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you join a technical team that has always been at the club and you are brought...
You're the newcomer.
You are the newcomer. You're literally the head coach. Regardless of whether you are going to be co-working, you're the head coach. I'll give an example. When Ayala joined Vipers, he joined as one of the assistants under Nikola Kavazovic. But when Nikola left, when you read the papers, when you listen on radio, everybody is talking about Ayala somehow as a head coach. Yet we see Muhumuza giving instructions on the touchline, speaking to the media. But even when you speak to the players at Chitende, they are like, when Ayala came, we did this. So he's not the head coach because they are co-coaches. But like Kyle said, this was never something that was planned, but this is planned. Question is, I've been at Lugogo, I'm Sakampima, I'm Jackson Magera, and you're bringing this guy. Of course, he's going to be earning more than me because that I'm sure. He's going to be having more authority over this team than I do. In the end, do I deserve to be here? Should he be successful? Egos. This co-coaching thing is all about egos. How do you manage them?
Egos.
Mike Mutebi was the manager with the Simba doing everything, the talking and everything. But Mike was missing this. That's why when Simba left, he said, we are not going to miss him tactically. We are only going to miss him as a brother emotionally, you know. That was the statement he said. So for me, I wish them good luck.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think they bring to KCCA? Can they take KCCA to the next level? KCCA losing in the final to Vipers, that hurt them. Of course, even in the league, underwhelming finish for them, finishing below teams like Jitara and NEC, who are their tenants.
They're finishing fifth for their second season.
Exactly. So can they take KCCA where KCCA think they should be? Because KCCA think the only team they should be competing with is Vipers.
Sometimes in football, you have to take unpopular decisions. For KCCA now, it's not about a process. And that's where I think they are going wrong. All they need is now to win. When you listen to rumors around the
you want to have that Echidi Erugogo vibe back.
Yeah, all they need is win. Now it's not even going to be about we win
playing
by
style.
playing our style. I don't think they now care about that. All they need is win. The appointment of Brian is a winner. At his age, he's won the Uganda Cup, he's won the Sekafa. You know, sometimes it's all about having that. And they believe on abada wangula, maybe a solo to wangulira. But also, there are reports that he's in the very good books of FUFA, where David Oboa is not, where Sam Simbwa, despite being the national team assistant coach, is not, where Abdallah Mbiru is not. Because there are reports that the sacking of Abdallah was not just about the result in Chitara, but it was about Oyo Mutamujao, you are going to be suffering. Now they have a favorite from FUFA. By the way, he's a delegate. Brani Senyondo is a delegate, just like Freddie Mumuza. I think the two are delegates. And when I speak at delegates, they have the vote to who the FUFA president should be. So don't be shocked. First of all, when they win, they can win because KCCA is a well-facilitated site. They have the quality players, but
Other things as well.
you may
There's something
find
else they bring to the table.
you may find some decisions going their way just to ensure their coach is successful.
Okay, interesting.
Naye ako kabagezi bokka.
Interesting perspective there from Ismail Chiyonga, but that conversation has been about the new technical team for KCCA in the upcoming season. 2-year deals for that for the dynamic duo of Jackson Magera and
But the
But
word
you-
dynamic.
But we only there is only one dynamic
And Brad
dynamic duo in Uganda. Ready and Wizo.
Mbu again, a Mbu topic coming up on Kawowo Sports.
Yeah. Ready
But
and Wizo.
that has been our conversation this week. A wonderful bumper show we've had today talking about rugby, football, and the basketball. And of course, always very happy to have our Koja Ismail Kionga coming through to be able to give light a very wonderful, wise wisdom from him, especially for the teams that have gone down in the big league. But we'll be coming up next week with a new episode of the Weekly Wowos. But this week we've had the privilege of having Fred Muhumuza, Franklin Kaweru, Edwin Kalkule, and our legendary Koja Ismail Chiyonga on the Weekly Wowos. Make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports. Don't forget to check out that column by Ismail Chiyonga, where he highlights all the latest football transfers in the Uganda Premier League season. You want to find out where your favorite player is going and or who your favorite club is trying to sign in the upcoming football season. Fred Muhumuza and his friends will be coming up with the conversation on the Rugby Africa Cup that will be happening in Uganda. So make sure you catch it sometime next week on Kawowo Sports. But as always, make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports. I've been your weekly host, Dennis Musali, and until next time, we'll see you again. Take care.